Chapter 4. Internal Environment. What are we going to learn in this chapter? The nature of an internal audit. Key internal forces and internal assessment. Process of performing an internal audit. The resource-based view. Integrating strategy and culture. The internal factor evaluation matrix. Nature of internal audit. All organizations have strengths and weaknesses in their functional areas. No enterprise is equally strong or weak in all areas. Internal strengths, weaknesses, coupled with external opportunities, threats, and a clear statement of mission, provide the basis for establishing objectives and strategies. Key internal forces. A firm's strengths that cannot be easily matched or imitated by competitors are called distinctive competencies. Building competitive advantages involves taking advantage of distinctive competencies. Strategies are designed in part to improve on a firm's weaknesses, turning them into strengths and maybe even into distinctive competencies. Internal assessment can also be used to identify strengths and weaknesses in administration, management, training, marketing, public relations, finance and accounting, operations, logistics, security, intelligence, research and development, management, information systems. Here are the process of performing an internal audit. Representative managers and employees from throughout the firm need to be involved in determining the firm's strengths and weaknesses. Performing an internal audit requires gathering, assimilating, and evaluating information about the firm's operations. Key factors should be prioritized so that the firm's most important strengths and weaknesses can be determined collectively. Compared to the external audit, the process of performing an internal audit provides more opportunity for participants to understand how their jobs, departments, and divisions fit into the whole organization. Performing an internal audit is an excellent vehicle or forum for improving the process of communication in the organization. Resource-based view, RBV. RBV approach to competitive advantage contends that internal resources are more important for a firm than external factors in achieving and sustaining competitive advantage. RBV three components are physical resources, plant, equipment, location, technology, raw materials, machines, human resources, employees, training, experience, intelligence, organizational resources, firm structure, planning processes, information systems, patents, trademarks, copyrights, databases, etc. Here are the components of the external environment analysis. Tangible assets. The most easily identified assets often found on a firm's balance sheet, raw materials, financial resources, equipment. Intangible assets. Firms have assets that you cannot touch or see but are often critical in creating competitive advantage. Brandings, firm's reputation, organizational morale, technical knowledge, patents and trademarks, and accumulated experience within an organization. Organizational capabilities. Skills, ability, and ways of combining assets, people, and processes that a firm uses to transform inputs into outputs. Leveraging unique internal resources for competitive advantage. Mix, type, amount, and nature of a firm's internal resources should be considered first and foremost in devising strategies. Firms should pursue strategies that are not currently being implemented by any competing firm. Resources are only valuable if they have one or more of the following characteristics. Rare, hard to imitate, not easily substitutable. Often called empirical indicators, these three characteristics enable a firm to implement strategies that improve its efficiency and effectiveness and lead to a sustainable competitive advantage. The key to effective strategy formulation is understanding both external and internal factors, and more importantly, understanding the relationships among them. Integrating strategy and culture. Relationships among a firm's functional business activities perhaps can be exemplified by focusing on organizational culture, an internal phenomenon that permeates through all departments and divisions of an organization. Organizational culture. Organizational culture can be defined as a pattern of behavior developed by an organization as it learns to cope with its problem of external adaptation and internal integration that has worked well enough to be considered valid and to be taught to new members as the correct way to perceive, think, and feel. Remarkably resistant to change, culture can represent a major strength or weakness for the firm. Organizational culture significantly affects business decisions, and thus must be evaluated during an internal strategic management audit. Integrating strategy and culture. Cultural products, values, beliefs, rites, rituals, myths, symbols, heroes, and legends. Cultural products and definitions. Values, attitudes and behavioral guidelines. Beliefs, a firmly held opinion or belief. Rites, ceremonial acts, rituals, a set of actions performed mainly for their symbolic value. Myths, a dramatic narrative of imagined events. Symbols, any object, act, event that serves to convey meaning. Heroes, individuals whom the organization has legitimized to model for others. Legends, a handed-down narrative of some events. Success is often determined by linkages between a firm's culture and strategies. Strategists must understand their firm as a socio-cultural system. The challenge of strategic management today is to bring about the changes in organizational culture and individual mindsets that are needed to support the formulation, implementation, and evaluation of strategies. Here are the examples of cultural action. Waving is a serious insult in Greece and Nigeria, particularly if the hand is near someone's face. Making a goodbye wave in Europe can mean no, but it means come here in Peru. In China, last names are written first. A man named Carlos Lopez Garcia should be addressed as Mr. Lopez in Latin America, but as Mr. Garcia in Brazil. Breakfast meetings are considered uncivilized in most foreign countries. That's why it becomes very challenging when it comes to organizational culture. Organizational cultures in the armed forces. Salute, strict dress code, ceremonies and regimental ceremony, customs and tradition, military law and act, armed forces wives club, messing and mess bill, family welfare, comradeship, flag posting, protocol, punctuality and punishment, standards and standardization, SOP, decorations, chain of command, style of command, strict ruling routine, divisional system, loyalty. Internal factor, evaluation of matrix. An IFE matrix is a crucial tool for conducting an internal strategic management audit, assessing a business's strengths and weaknesses and identifying relationships among these areas. Intuitive judgments are required in developing an IFE matrix, so the appearance of a scientific approach should not be interpreted to mean this is an all-powerful technique. Here are the 5 steps in performing an IFE matrix. List key internal factors as identified in the internal audit process. Use a total of from 10 to 20 internal factors, including both strengths and weaknesses. Assign a weight ranging from 0, not important, to 1, very important, to each factor. The sum of all the weights must equal 1. Assign a 1 to 4 rating to each factor to indicate whether that factor represents a major weakness, minor weakness, to a strength, or major strength. Multiply each factor's weight by its rating to determine a weighted score for each variable. Sum the weighted scores for each variable to determine the total weighted score for the organization. IFE matrix weighted scores. The total weighted score can range from a low of 1 to 10 to a high of 4, with the average score being 2.5. Scores well below 2.5 characterize organizations that are weak internally, whereas scores significantly above 2.5 and 10 indicate a strong internal position. When a key and final factor is both a strength and weakness, the factor should be listed twice in the IFE matrix, and a weight and rating should be assigned to each statement. In multi-divisional firms, each autonomous division or strategic business unit should construct an IFE matrix. Division matrices can then begin to be integrated to develop an overall corporate IFE matrix. Assignment Part 3. You already have conducted an external audit for your company. Now perform an internal audit for your company. Find internal opportunities and threats of your firm. List 5 opportunities and 5 threats that face this firm. Write your opportunities and threats from your internal audit in continuation of your previous assignment. Perform an IFE and EFE matrix of your firm and draw a table to indicate your weighted scores. Thank you for all of your attention.